Introduce Chris Palmer, our speaker this evening. Chris and his wife Donna reside in East Wawanosh Township, where they raised his two daughters, Amanda and Kristen. Chris has been a pig field and cash crop farmer. He has had a very strong involvement on a number of levels with the development of the Ontario Bale Association. He was involved with the former East Wawanosh Township Federation of Agriculture and with the Huron County Federation of Agriculture president for 1989 and 90. Many of us were surprised by Chris's accident, as he had the reputation for being safety conscious. His story is an example of how quickly a farm accident can happen to any of us, and how often we are lucky in our farm lives. Please join me in welcoming Chris.
Good evening, everybody. Pulling out my notes, my wife gave them to me. I hope it's not the shopping list. It's a tremendous pleasure to be here. When Joan asked me, I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity to see familiar faces. I've been sort of out of the scene, out of the local scene for quite a few years. I spent all my time down in Guelph, actually. But anyways, we do what we have to do, and we go where we're pulled. I believe that it's important to hear testimonials of people of survival and human struggle now and again, because it reminds us all of how fragile life can be. And this is my story. It's simple. It's life after life. Actually, I'm 3.5 years old. It might sound a bit silly, but 41 months ago, I lost my life. I had a farm accident that mutilated my body, changed my life forever. It took my off-farm job, my farming career, and what seemed at the time our future. We all know how dangerous a farming occupation can be. I've been a farmer for 34 years, and I know the dangers, and I know the safety measures, and I know that I want to grow old with my wife. But a horrifying accident can still happen. Whether we want to face it or not, all of us who live and work on the farm are just a heartbeat away from dying or having a terrible accident. Why? Because we take chances. We take shortcuts, and we work excessive hours. Two words negate the rewards of farm safety: complacency and fatigue. They resonate in my mind. Believe me, I didn't wake up in the morning thinking that this was going to happen. A fellow person with a prosthetic, he didn't wake up in the morning thinking that he was going to lose his wife in a motorcycle accident, some idiot going through a red light. His wife died and he lost his leg. You don't know what's going to happen when you wake up. You just thank God that you did wake up in the first place. Anyways, the PTO is the most useful tool out there. I wasn't sure what to call it, because it's not really a tool. It's an apparatus. It's an extension of a tractor or a piece of equipment. You know what I mean. It's very useful, but equally probably the most dangerous thing out there. I believe that 98% of the people just touched by a PTO die. If you go around, you die. Plain and simple. Or else you get terribly hurt like myself, or at minimum, you'll lose your clothes. Remember, if it rotates, it wants to grab you. And if you tame that part of it, it wants to roll over you or one of your children. You have to think about it. But if you respect it and take precautions, then the power takeoff can work for you. You know the saying, life is held by a thread. Well, a couple of threads from my worn-out coveralls almost killed me. Yes, I got tangled up in a slow-moving, slow-rotating power takeoff. I would love to say that my leg was blown off by a roadside bomb in Afghanistan. I truly would, because then there'd be a little bit of honor to it. But instead, I had a farm accident, and it was preventable. My usual day, like many of you, started at 5 or earlier in the morning. You do chores, you get ready for work, you leave, you get home I got home around 6:30, do chores again, have supper, and then Dad and I would always try and do a little extra on the farm so it didn't all pile up on the weekend. Well, that night was different. See if you can identify my shortcuts, because I know you've all done them. I was multitasking, so between working in the shed with Dad, I would run to the sprayer because I had the water running in it because I wanted to clean it out. And I was on the third rinse. Well, I'm standing beside it, flicking the solenoids to run the water through the booms. I did it all the time. I did it for 30 years or more, as long as we had a sprayer. But I felt a tickle. On that third time, I felt a tickle on my knee. Felt like a cat, putting his claws up, and then I was on the other side. Just as faster than that. You can't imagine how fast it happened. I had it was a cool evening. I had winter coveralls on, cotton pants. If I had jeans on, I would have died because they wouldn't have come off. So cotton co-op pants, t-shirt, shirt, sweatshirt, and I was on the other side, naked. Just imagine a grape, squeeze a grape, it all comes out the top. That was me. It was just unbelievable. And it sat me down between the 3-point hinge arm and the power takeoff shaft, which was running out my ear, right by my ear. I saw all my stuff go woo, 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 woo. And talk about horror. Not believing it hardly. I'm Chris. This wasn't supposed to happen to me. And it did. But then your brain kicks in. You just instantly go to survival mode. So I'm looking around, sort of taking stock of what happened or what condition I'm in. And I could see my leg was gone at the knee, but my tibia bone was still there, licked clean. And holy smokes! And my right leg, it was perpendicular to my body, so I knew it was broken. I couldn't feel anything. And my right arm, I didn't know where it was. It could have been going woo, woo, woo. I had no idea, no feeling, couldn't see it. And all I had was this. And my hand hurt. That was the only pain I had, was my hand. So, okay. Between the horror, I had the collar of my t-shirt, just the little thing. And with the PTO running right here, I quickly grabbed it off because I was afraid of going through it again, getting caught. So, alright. Well, I wanted to see how bad I was. I couldn't really move my head that much. Everything was sore, but I felt my abdomen to see if my innards or intestines were still there, still in there. I remember feeling my head to see if my brains were still in, because I didn't know. And then I remember breathing. It was laborsome, but I could still breathe. Later I had broken ribs, so that's why it was so, but I could breathe. Well, then I decided I had enough to go for it. And what a profound statement that is. I had enough to go for it. You know, if my brains were out, then I wouldn't have had enough. I just would have died there. But I had enough. And I prayed to God to give me the strength to get out of here. First, I thanked Him for being alive, then I asked him to give me strength to get out, because I needed help. So I remember grabbing the tread of the tractor, and that wasn't working very well. So the end of the 3-point hitch, that was good. So I remember getting my head underneath it, and all I could do was forearm out. And reminds me of an octopus with its tentacles all spread out, and then you start pulling it, well, everything kind of comes together. That was me. As I started inching my way around the tire and out into the gravel a bit more, like all my stuff started coming in line. So I knew I had my arm, still couldn't feel anything. So that was good, had my arm. So inching out, and I'm slowing down because I'm running out of energy big time here. I got out about 15 feet, and I stopped. I couldn't do it anymore. So Dad was in another shed, so I knew, okay, maybe he was going to come and look for me. And I remember calling for help, help. I had no idea how loud or for how long. But then I stopped it. I couldn't do it anymore. I was done. Just done. So I resolved the fact that I'm dying. So I just lay down. I was down anyway, but I just remember slumping down even more. And then all of a sudden, this is interesting. You've all heard these stories about people seeing lights at the end of a tunnel and all that, and I've heard them, and I've always thought, I didn't think too much of it. Good for you. You know what? It happened. It happened to me. All of a sudden, I'm walking down a lit hallway. That's what I'm doing. Well, I don't call it what you want, but that's what I'm doing. And I came to an intersection, and I'm thinking, after all I went through, I have to decide whether I go right or left. I chose left, because I knew from my proximity, my house was that way. I wanted to go home. That's what it was. I wanted to go home. Dad found me. He tapped me on the shoulder and kind of woke me up or whatever. I looked up and I said, Dad, I'm in trouble. The poor man, he was 78 at the time, and he has Parkinson's. So, they walk on a shuffle, and he was a couple hundred feet away in another shed and come looking for me. So for probably 100 feet or more, he saw this white blob of meat and bones in the gravel. He saw that. So just imagine every step. Is that my son? Is he alive? Is he dead? Poor man. And he touched me, thinking it might have been the last time. Anyways, he was quite, I think he was relieved when I looked up at him. But he ran to the house and phoned 911. Told my wife Donna that Chris is hurt out in the yard. So she runs out and just freaks because didn't know how hurt I was. But she's a nurse, so she went into nurse mode and ran in the house, got blankets and towels and what have you, and came out and jumped on me. That's when it hurt. She still said she didn't do that, but she did. I think I was going into shock at that time. So, the first person on site was a constable, an OPP, and it was Constable Boo Fan. First guy. He told Donna, he gave his card, and he said, if you need anything, call me. What a shame. Then the ambulance showed up, and all the guys were there, guys and gals, I don't know, but I'm laying down, I could see these boots walking around me. They didn't know how to load me. Like, I'm a mess here. And then all of a sudden I hear, just get them on! And holy smokes, that hurt. So they hit every bump on the road going to Wingham. And the helicopter came. And I met the 911 lady that Dad talked to. She turned out to be a friend of my niece who lives in London. And she met me at Parkinson's. And that was so nice. It was so good for her to see a survivor case. And it was so good for me just to see this wonderful angel that she has to decide, does the helicopter go or not? It's all up to her. And she told me that she could tell in Dad's voice that this was serious, and it was true. Anyways, 10 minutes behind me, the same 911 lady took a man who got caught in a manure spreader in the Kincardine area, and he was dead when he arrived in London. So she was quite happy to see me. And I cried, like, oh, what a moment. So that's how it really happened. Now, what broke? Well, my wrist was broken, my elbow was broken and dislocated, my ribs were broken, my back was broken, my femur was broken in 2 places, and it was out of my hip, broke out of my hip, and I lost 8 liters of blood. That's about 80% of your blood. I woke up in the helicopter. I love helicopters. It would have been great, but I stopped breathing then. And they rammed a ventilator tube down my throat, and thank God they did. But my voice has changed. Can't sing very well anymore. What have you? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm here. So, yeah. So that's all that happened. Ooh, I gotta watch myself. Okay, that's my injuries. Now, I was 4 months in a hospital, 3 in Wingham and 1 month at Parkwood in London. That's where I learned how to walk. That's where they gave me a prosthesis. And it's weird because you don't feel. At night I can't walk really because I lose my balance just with one leg that I feel. And so it's kind of tough. Oh, excuse me, I broke, my hip broke again. They screwed it and pinned it. My femur, and about 8 months later it broke again, and it just let go on me, and I could feel my leg just held on by flesh and skin. And what a weird feeling. And the screws were going into my knee. Like, it wasn't a happy time. I had to wait 3 months to get my hip replacement because my operation was going to take longer. They go by numbers, eh? Click them through every 2 hours, that's better. Mine was a 4-hour operation, but they finally did because I complained too much. You have to. So anyways, when you're in the hospital, you're surrounded by other patients, other amputees, and you've got the comfort of nurses and doctors and what have you, and you're just one of the gang. Oh, when you get home, though, it hit me. Oh, smokes, I am different. I'm set apart, so to speak. And I remember entering the house for the first time, and I sat in a chair, and I took one shoe off, and I took the other shoe off. And I went, oh, God, it's fake. Those were my words. It's carbon fiber and rubber. That's what my foot is. Well, like a flood of sorrow passed through my mind. A little cry. Well, the only recourse is to move on, right? So I put my slippers on and you move on. So the road to recovery, rehab. Well, the key to rehab is support from loved ones, friends, family. And I had a lot. I had about a foot deep of cards from my colleagues involved, and neighbors and family, and the operative words were, "We're praying for you. We're praying for you." And that's how you get better. It's always God at the end, and then first, and then all your friends and family. I couldn't have done it without my support mechanism there. Well, I was given they call it a Chevy for a leg. It's really the knee, but I call it the leg. So I'm above the knee. I'm above knee amputee. So they give you a Chevy at first, and that's just your plain and simple. You fall quite a few times with it. So after a while, after I got better at it, Don and I elected to go for a Cadillac. No, it's not quite a Cadillac. Buick. And this thing was $25,000. It's just a little wee knee, It's got hydraulics in it. But it's computerized. I have a battery. And actually, I'm not walking really well because it needs a tune-up. Yeah, still under warranty, or it'd be a $3,000. I found this out. It'd be a $3,000 tune-up every time this happens. So it's been a couple of times. So I hope that they get it fixed. So all in all, probably my leg is about $40,000 with the different components and everything, and it only lasts every 5-6 years. They don't know how long it's going to last, and I have to get another one. Like, I'd rather go get a new truck. Anyways, you've got to, there's goals. When you're hurt badly, actually not just hurt, you can be hurt mentally, hurt physically, emotionally. There's a lot of hurts out there, okay? All I'm talking, and they're all similar in a way, but you cannot have just, I'm going to get better, or I'm going to be just totally normal, and that's what I'm striving for. You can't do that, because you're going to let yourself down, because it doesn't work that way. We call them mini goals. You gotta succeed or beat these mini goals, and there's lots of them. We have triumphed over. I say we, because Donna has been the greatest gal I've ever known. She has helped me so much. Anyways, we've triumphed over a lot of goals. When I came home with the Pontiac, it allows you to do more things. I can go downstairs one step at a time, and I can sit in a chair nicely with control, where the other one you just fall. When it's working good, it's not bad. But when I came home that day, Donna met me at the door, and I grabbed hold of her, and we went into the kitchen, and we danced. And she cried. That was great. And another day, we always biked, and Donna would just jump on her bike and head down the road, and I felt, darn it, I can do this. So I got this mountain bike. Had to change the seat, because everything's different. When you jump on it, your foot goes this way. And I can't change that. It just goes this way, and it doesn't work on a pedal very well, but I'm going to give it a go. So she's headed off through the bush and the swamp and out of sight, and I jumped on the bike and almost fell, and finally sort of got on, and I pedaled down the lane and down the road, and I met her in the bush. There was another one of those little goals that we met. So to make it work, I bolted a second pedal beside the other pedal. So my pedal's about this wide. Well, 7-8 inches wide. So my foot can nicely sit on that thing. So now we can bike and we walk together, and so we're getting closer and closer to being normal. That ultimate goal. That's probably our operative word, is normal. And I'm sure 10 years from now we're still going to be saying, "Oh, geez, Chris, you've done this. You're getting more normal." I don't know if that's proper English, but you know what I mean. Now, I had to remember that I wasn't the only victim, and that's really, so many people hurt, they just think of themselves, because that's sort of a natural thing. But golly, you have to get over that. In fact, like, I left a wave of collateral damage in my wake. You know, my wife, my family, the girls, our friends, neighbors, or, you know, everybody's hurt by this. And Donna, she went through hell over this. She says she didn't, but I think she did. Anyway, she's been my rock. Well, to complete my rehab and my mental well-being, now that's starting to play into the picture, was to get a job. Because I was almost 3 years, I guess it was 3 years, and I was ready. Well, we needed money too, that was another reason. But I was ready. You know, you work all your life, like you, and then all of a sudden you're not. Like, it's worse than retirement, I thought. Or if this is what retirement's all about, I don't know if I want to. My self-worth was gone. My identity was gone. You know, I had a huge, I don't know what's the right way, at my work in Guelph, you know, we had this huge group of colleagues, and all of a sudden they're gone. They're not there. They send cards, well wishes, and yeah, that's great. But I'm not there anymore. And I'm not in the farming scene anymore. I'm barely a farmer. You know, we have 300 acres, but I only farm 30. We rent out the rest because I wasn't really capable of farming anymore. So I'm not a real farmer. I'm not working involved. Who the heck am I? And this might sound really strange. And so many people sort of put me on a pedestal, not to be self-serving or anything. It's just, oh, Chris, like, you've done so well. You know, it's just wonderful how you're coming and blah blah blah. So you've lost all this stuff. You're up here. Where are you? You're nowhere. I was really feeling nowhere, and that was beginning to hurt. Then all of a sudden, an opportunity. Oh, I applied in the spring. I applied for several jobs, in my field and, not in my field, but to no avail. And all of a sudden, at the last moment, it seemed like I had an opportunity. Glenn Gibson from Connect Equipment in Lucknow, we started talking, and he offered me a job of being parts manager. And that made my day. That's been 3 months now. And it was probably the best birthday gift my wife ever received. So that was fantastic. Now, dealing with their friends, like, you know it's going to be, it becomes an obstacle. It has to. So right from the beginning, right in the hospital rooms, right in the hospital, I said to them, like, we have a group of, there's 4 couples, and we're sort of called the dinner club. That's what the kids all call us anyways, but we see a lot of one another, and, okay, how am I going to deal with this? How are they going to deal with this? So I told them straight up, okay guys, call me Stumpy, call me Limpy, call me anything you want. It's got to be easy. I'm okay with whatever. Let's just be a joke about it, and we're going to be okay. And that's the way it's been. But of course, there's always extra, I don't know what I call him. I better not say. But anyways, this super guy in the group, and he said, actually, I have to build it up to that. When my stuff, my bones and my flesh and my meat, everything was going like this, being hit by the frame of the sprayer and my stuff. Well, I said, Donna, was my meat flying around the yard, getting spread? And she's, I still talk like that. But Donna, did it? Well, yeah. And I said, which our barn cats have been eating me. So I said this I think I said it just as a joke. So one of the guys said, well, Chris, when you get back home, and you're walking around, you better look behind you if there's any cats there. what got us through the first few months were definitely our family, our friends, and neighbors. I had the corn planted already, but they came in and planted the rest of our beans, sprayed them, took care of them, took care of Donna. And of course, when we left the, 2 pieces of pie and I kind of robbed. Donna only thinks I had one. Anyways, when we got out of the hospital, it was soybean harvest time, September, and I said to Donna, if I can get up into that combine, we're going. And I could hardly walk, but we got a step ladder, and I got up in there, she came up, and we're sitting in it, and I said, we're doing it. So, in a little bit of time when the beans were ready, we did. And we got help from Albert Helson's son came over with their combine, so between the two of us, we got the beans done, and then Don and I got our corn done. So there was a huge goal that we got through. And it was good. It would be good also for the neighbors to see that I just wasn't on the couch. There's nothing worse than that. But I was trying. I was out there trying. And we were as a family. Well, we are blessed. You guys are all blessed as well. And, God says that there's always something good in everything. So you struggle, okay, what's good about what happened to me? You know what? It's given me a platform to speak. I've spoken many times now, from church groups to farm safety, to sheep 4-H clubs or club. It's good to tell the story, and my hope is that it saves a life, even one. So think safety, everybody, and think of me whenever you're around the power takeoff shaft.